Hey everybody, welcome back. So today is our last meeting about Adam Willett's Leading the Unleadable. Alright, so let's get right to it. We are looking at section 4, which is the last section of the book that talks about leading leaders. Chapter 12 specifically is talking about leading leaders and helping the leaders that you work with grow their abilities. Depending on where you are in the organization, how high up you are, you might have a lot of leaders that fall underneath you whose work directly or indirectly impacts your goals or objectives for the organization. And because of your position in the organization, there's a good chance that you might be far removed from the work that your managers or leaders are managing. And you might not be fully aware of how they're getting things done, which might also mean that you are unaware of the impact that they're having on your organization or on their teams. But just because you are far removed from them, that does not make the work that they do and the impact that they're having any less your responsibility. And so, as we've said throughout this entire book, as a leader, failure is always your fault. That is why it's important that even when we're talking about leaders, that you set your expectations with those leaders and make sure that you are effectively communicating those expectations. Your goals might be at a much higher level than, or more broader than, your leaders and managers' goals for their teams. But it is still your job to train up those leaders, to make them aware of your expectations, to create an environment where communication and healthy conflict can thrive and is welcome, and to help those leaders facilitate getting things done. Willett lays out some strategies for setting expectations and for potentially spotting troublesome leaders when they are just starting out in an organization. Those strategies include, when a leader first comes into an organization, asking them to take a scan of the organization and to give their own assessment as to what the weaknesses and strengths of your organization is, or their organization or team. Another strategy is to start them off with a difficult challenge. And what this will do is that it will give you an opportunity early on to see how this person analyzes and engages problems. And it also opens up a line of communication between the two of you. And just from my own experience, don't assume that leaders coming into your organization know how to lead. Some have leadership thrust upon them and they haven't yet developed healthy, effective ways to lead and engage team members. You have to be there to assist them on an ongoing basis. Let them know that you are there to listen and help and to guide them in doing things the way your organization, the way your culture supports, and not necessarily where they're coming from, their old culture. And chapter 13 goes into what I think is the most important part, which is learning to lead yourself, to govern yourself. The truth is that people want to be led by optimistic, high energy people. If you are having consecutive days of low energy and negativity, not only does it impact the way you work, it impacts the way people see you and your ability to lead them. And the way to combat the negativity and low energy that you might be feeling from your leadership activities is through finding what Willett calls your leadership sweet spot. And the leadership sweet spot are those things that give you energy and motivate you. Your leadership sweet spot are those things that fuel your passion, those things that you are competent in, and those things that you are excited to grow your competence in. And most importantly, those things that provide value. As I've said before, people want to do things that matter, that have value. As an exceptional leader, if you haven't already come to know what your leadership sweet spot is, you should be trying to learn what it is. And you should be working within your leadership sweet spot. Helping people is my passion, particularly as it pertains to people's work lives. Helping people work better and smarter is my passion. It is a competence that I have developed for over 20 years, and I continue to evolve and add on to my competencies every single day. And because I love it, learning and becoming more competent at it is not a drain for me. When I know that I am working to make people's lives easier, or when I hear that the work that I've done has made people's lives easier, that energizes me. And because it is my sweet spot, because it is what I love to do, I make an effort to work within that. I choose projects whose objectives hit my sweet spot. As a consultant, I take on work that is within that sweet spot, and as a consultant, I will turn down work that does not align with that passion. And I do that because I know that choosing work that does not align with those passions will ultimately drain me and not really serve my clients. Willett also talks about improving your ability to improve. improving the type of leader that you are, improving your skill sets and competencies, and improving the way you get things done, your own processes. I'm not going to include all of the points that were in the book, but these are the ones that resonated with me the most. Decide what you will do differently. If the ways that you are working aren't working, not getting you the results that you want, you have to decide what you're going to do differently. How are you going to change things to get the results that you want? And that's not just the changes that you try to make in other people. How are you going to change the way that you do things? Learn from success and failures. A lot of times we look at failures as something that we need to forget, something that we need to brush off, right? So it doesn't weigh down on us and we can keep going. And to a certain point, you don't need to carry your failures along with you. But make sure that you've looked into the lessons that need to be learned from your failures before you discard them. Be willing to make public mistakes. You learn so much from public mistakes. I will say that going out into the public with my training and consultation has taught me more about preparation, maintaining energy, about resiliency than any other thing that I've ever done. And relax into the joy of learning. I actually really love to learn. I love education in general, but I would get really frustrated when it would take me a long time to learn something. Over time, if I just kept making the same mistakes or not getting the results that I was ultimately looking for, I would just give up on it. However, over time and still every day, I am learning that it's not just about obtaining that skill set. It's about all the things that you learn along the way. And it is very much about embracing those incidental learnings that you have along the way, so that you don't get frustrated and give up. Chapter 14 is just Willett's wrap up of the entire book. I really liked the book myself. I thought that it would go more in detail about dealing with the specific personality types that he talks about on the cover, but it is really a good overview or broad stroke on how to lead and address troublesome people. And I like how he addresses managing yourself so that you're better equipped to deal with troublesome people and to help those people be at their best. I would definitely recommend this book to someone who's relatively new to leadership, in particular new to leading troublesome people or teams. Okay, so that's it for this book. If you read along with me, comment below. The book that we will be reading next is called Psychological Project Management, and this is by Leif Rogell. Like Willett's book, it states that it's about leading people and teams, but it's probably more detailed and based in psychology. It's about understanding behaviors and perceptions as it pertains to work. This book has 11 chapters, but they're much longer chapters, so we'll try to go for 2 chapters every week. So next week, let's actually meet up about the preface in chapters 1 and 2, and then we'll do 2 chapters a week after that. Okay, so then I'll see you next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe.